Denim Couch Podcast. Ooh, whoa, ooh, whoa.
The 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s with Steph with an F.
Hi guys, welcome to the Denim Couch Podcast, where we chill on this denim couch and talk about the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm Stephanie Tanner. Welcome. Hey guys, it's Stephanie Tanner with the Denim Couch Podcast, and today we're going to be speaking with Faye Messenger. Faye Messenger is 100, almost 101 years old, and he's just amazing. He was really fun to talk to. He is an avid golfer, and he will be telling us more about golf later in this interview. It's really impressive. I think this guy is more active than I am, which reminds me that I need to start doing more exercise. So thank you, Faye, for motivating me to work out more. This is really, really motivating. All right, so it's fall around here. So I'll just be sitting on my couch with all my fall decorations, eating those candy corn pumpkins, and listening to a bunch of podcasts and enjoying this new fall season. So I'm a summer person. Summer is my favorite time of the year. And so I really have to get into the traditions so that I can get excited about the colder weather. So we're going all out. We're going orange. We've got the Halloween costumes planned, which I could totally get into, but for the sake of time, I'll save that for another episode. Last year we were Moana. Zeke was the dumb chicken from Moana, so we had fun with that. But this year, we're also doing a trendy costume, and I'll update you on that costume in the next interview. I'm really excited about this interview with Faye, and I also wanted to mention what I've been thinking about this week. I'm trying to create these awesome experiences for me and my family. And while I do that, I have to really limit my social media use because I do social media for work. It's a big part of my job, but also, it's where I keep in contact with all my friends and family. And it's awesome. I love it so much. I'm learning that it inhibits my time being able to do these fun things, similar life experiences, I guess I would say, to what these people are experiencing. They remember all these stories. They're great stories, and I want to make sure that my memories I can look back on and feel like I really made an effort and did something with my life and experienced a lot of really awesome, small yet fulfilling things. So for me, I've just been thinking about how I'm not going to remember, the times where I was scrolling through my phone. I'm really not, because they're such forgettable time. During my day, I don't ever look back and think, oh, that was really fun. But the things that I do look back and go, oh, that was really fun, are like going out on a walk with my kid or pulling out the cookbook to see what I could bake for fun. Though, there's always something during the day that I look back and think about, or even throughout the week and think about, hey, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And I'm noticing those aren't the times where I'm on my phone. In fact, most of the time I'm on my phone or on technology on my computer is so forgettable. And I don't remember it. I might think about a nice post or something good that happened to a friend. But other than that, it's super forgettable. So I'm trying to work on scheduling unforgettable activities throughout my day. Okay, let's get into our interview with Faye. I'm really excited. He was such a pleasure to interview. Let's dive in. Podcast is about stories from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But not only that, it's about happiness and joy and people's experiences with happiness and joy, their opinions, their thoughts on happiness and joy in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Alrighty. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Faye Messenger, and I live in Boise, Idaho.
Wow.
I have 3 daughters. 2 of them live in Boise, and 1 of them lives in Idaho Falls. She travels the world all the time,
cool.
over in someplace now. I've enjoyed life. I've lived in Boise since 1951. Come up here to farm and went into the insurance business, and that's it. I was born October the 15th, 1918. And I've been active all my life. That's why I live that long. I've always got a project going. I can't die when my project is over with.
I feel like there's an importance to a name in its era. How common would you say your name was back in the 40s and 50s?
When I was born, they didn't know what to name me, and the doctor said, name him after my brother. And his brother's name was Faye, and that's how I got the name of Faye.
Wow.
And then I've had at least 1, maybe 2 named Faye after me.
Can you tell me about life back in the day?
I was born and raised in Beaver, and it was a nice little town, but then you had to do everything on your own, no travel. The road between Salt Lake and Los Angeles went right through Beaver, and it's all dirt road and no oil on it, and the dust was awful. And our home, Dad built the home as a solid concrete home, and we had a bathtub in it. And of all my friends and relatives, we had the only bathtub there was. And bathtub and sink, but no toilet. That was down the road about 100 feet.
Goodness.
And when it snowed in the winter, you clean that off the first down. But we did have a granary to keep stuff in, and we always had a big garden, and you raised your chickens for eggs and meat. You had a pig or 2 and kept that for pork, and then you had a cow or 2, and everybody had most of the people, I'd say 75% had a cow too. You never went shopping. You never went to the store for shopping, because you always had, you tried to buy a 5-gallon can of honey, and then you had some molasses, and then you buy 100 pounds of sugar, and that would last you. You try to get enough money so you could do that. It generally cost $5 for 100 pounds of sugar, and you always had that on hand all the time. So you sold things and so on in the stores, and you didn't buy them. You ordered them through the catalog. Cars were, you had more wagons on the road than there were cars when I was a kid. A lot more. And so when we had a car, 1917 Model T Ford. It had lights on the side. You put coil oil in them, lit them. There's no batteries. And you always cranked your car. Remember when they come out, they said there's a car now you don't have to crank. How do you start it? You can't start a car unless you crank it. And then there's so much dirt on the road, and gravel would get to the edge of the road, and you hit that gravel and throw the car over. So there's lots of rolled over cars then, and they have glass cut all over them all the time. But gradually everything improved. Everything improved. We had a 1917 Model T Ford and then a 1924 Ford Coupe. Used to deliver milk. Now you go there, and they did here for a long time. And then now you go to the store and buy a gallon of milk or 2 gallons of milk, and 2% or whatever you want then. And then there's just regular milk. And it was kind of hard to get down in town. Down in Beaver, everybody had their own cows, most of them, but the guy by the name of White used to deliver some to some people every morning in a buggy with a horse. Look at the picture. type of pictures you have and so on. I had a little old camera, and I've got a lot of pictures here from the old cameras and so on. And now it's computerized. Everything is computerized, and you don't know what they're going to come up next.
What was married life like in the 40s and 50s?
When I got married, I didn't even have a car, and it's 1941. And I rode my wife around on a bicycle. If we want to go anywhere, put her on the bicycle and we take off. And that was kind of unusual. And then I bought a car and paid $100 for it, a 1929 Model A Ford. It was a good little car, too. And it was a rumble seat in the back. And I took the rumble seat out and made a kind of a pickup so I could carry milk cans because I was farming and so on. Cool. Oh, we also bought a refrigerator right after we were married. Though we got married in April, and in December, that's when the war started. I've still got that 1941 refrigerator. I had a good life. My wife died in 1982. Just her gasping, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah. And she taught school for years. Just loved it.
What grade did she?
And she taught second grade all the time. She taught it down in Beaver for a while. Well, they come up and begged her to teach. Right after the war, they couldn't get anybody to teach. And my middle daughter was just a year old. And my aunt said, well, I'll take care of her. You teach. And so that's when she started to teach school. And Jean and I married, and we went on our honeymoon across Russia.
What do you remember about your work life in the 40s and 50s?
But we always had something to eat all the time because you raise your garden and everything. But I built a home down in Beaver and started a farm. I farmed there until 1951, and they come up to Boise and saw all this water. I had a lot of land and didn't raise anything on it because it was short of water. And I come up here, so I decided to maybe move to Boise if I wanted to. So we come up to Boise to farm. I've never ever borrowed money, never paid a dime on a credit card. Never bought any furniture on time, ever. Everything was cash.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, and not many people in that category, but I would never buy anything unless I could pay for it.
What was your experience like living during World War II?
It was a Sunday morning, and we just got home from milking and turned the radio on, which is quite unusual because the radios were just coming in then, you know. The radios, I was born in 1918, and that's just about when the first radios. And I lived with an aunt and uncle quite a bit of my life. Well, we moved from California and went to live with them. That's when I stopped in Las Vegas at 8 years of age, and they had a Majestic radio. The radios didn't come in until I can remember the Atwater Kent radio, just a little old radio, and you couldn't hear anything on it. Boop, boop, boop. I hear it. I heard noise. And then the TV come in after I moved to Boise, so it wasn't until 52 or 3, and I bought a 9-inch TV. And look what we have now. You just can't believe it. And everything changes. Everything changes. It's been fun to see the changes in look at the radio and look at the TV and all the computers now, and look at the cars and how the cars are operating. So you have air conditioning. Who ever heard of air conditioning? Before, you didn't have any windows. See, there's no windows in that car we had, 1917 model, except the windshield. But just the minute the war was over with, then they started to get electric stoves, and that was quite unusual. So the war stopped a lot of stuff, but just the minute it was over, why things just started to go crazy, improving on everything. And the oiled roads, Salt Lake to Los Angeles, is all dirt and gravel, and it was awful. And then all of us, they oiled the roads just before the war.
What was your growing up experience like, and how is it different from today's kids' experience?
You know, they had dances, and when we were growing up, they always had dances, and so we danced. And the church had gold and green balls all the time, and that was a big thing. But we always went to dances on a Saturday. We had a dance generally on a Friday and on a Saturday. So at the Institute on Saturday, and Friday night down the Dawn Song. And that was a big thing. And then show houses. I can remember when the shows first started. You could see the picture, but there's no speaking, and then they'd have the speaking afterwards. And then they'd have a guy on the piano playing on the first shows. I can remember Kate Joseph playing, and a guy by the name of George Murdoch used to play at the shows. And that would be in the 20s. Yeah. A guy by the name of Firmage put the show house in. It was a little, it'd hold maybe 100 people, maybe something like that. But anyway, and then you had to make your own fun on everything else too. We had sleighs and bobsleigh and a horse pull a sleigh, and that's quite unusual. Well, we used to go swimming naked, and I never had a swimming suit. We used to go down the creek and swim, and that was it. And everybody else did too. I don't know if girls did, but boys did. Yeah, all the time. That's the way we went. We had to make our own fun all the time. Balls or anything was hard to get. You couldn't afford them in the first place. Oh, I wanted a ball so bad. And so my mother took the socks. They used to darn socks, and they undarned the socks. You pull them out, and they just undarn. And then she wound it up and put it made a ball out of it. And then she took the outside and put knitting around the outside so it wouldn't come apart. And boy, I used that ball for everything. But guess what? When it get wet, you'd have to take about 2 days for it to dry out. And one day it come up missing. I couldn't figure out where it was. I was playing down to a guy's place, kid's place I used to play with, and I looked over there, and there was that ball of mine. So I went over, I said, "That's my ball, Ken." He said, "That's my ball. I found it." I grabbed the ball and took off. I left the road a little ways, and his dad come out. He said, "You leave that ball here." I said, "That's my ball, and I'm not going to leave it here." I was about 7 or 8, 6 or 7, something like that. But that ball was, I had that ball for a long time. Also, they had tires, had a solid core in it. Didn't have a tube in it. They had a solid core. So I got one of those, and I took a knife and worked on it for about 2 weeks to make a ball out of that. Rubber. It'd make it out of kind of a rubber stuff. But I used a dull knife. I didn't even have enough sense to make it, to sharpen the knife up. I worked on that ball, and that ball was around for a long time. You should have seen it. It was, I had a perfect ball out of it. Between the two balls, I had it all the time. We used to play anti-eye over a house. Throw the ball over and try to get it, and then come around and hit the other guy or something. And we used to play that. And we used to have little cars and have a play cars, made them out of boards, little boards. And then we had a track and go. We entertained ourselves, in other words.
What was one of your fondest memories in the 40s and 50s?
Oh, well, when you have children, that, I really enjoyed raising our children. Really enjoyed that. And of all the things there was, is raising your children and showing them love and them loving you and so on. And they still love me. Yeah, and that's one of the big things. And yeah, I think raising your children and seeing what they do and so on and your grandchildren and so on, and they have a lot of respect for you.
Can you tell me about a time growing up when you experienced sadness or even hardship?
Yeah, a lot of things. I had polio. I didn't know I had polio, but I had polio. Couldn't walk. I was between the second and third grade, and they didn't know. They just said it's rheumatism. You'll get over it. My granddad Parkinson always did things for us. He gave us a goat, and we had a wagon and hooked that goat on. My brother and my cousin was in the wagon, and I wanted to go with him, but I couldn't walk. So I grabbed onto the back of the wagon, and they dragged me clear down to the mill. That's about a block. There was a road there, and the road always had gravel along it, and I got in that and dragged my feet with the gravel, and then I finally got up to where there's a ditch bank and with grass on it. And so I got over that, and I finally made it home, and my arms were wore out. I guess it was my get up and go that made me get over it. I got so I could kind of walk a little bit. So every morning I kind of walked down a little ways and back, and we had a chicken coop to the back of the lot. And after a week or two, I got so I could get down there. So every morning I get down and run down that chicken coop and back. I just kept working on that, and it bothered me to go to school and couldn't run with all the rest of the kids. I eventually got over it. No, I did not know I had polio until I come up here and went to a doctor, and they examined. He says, "You had polio?" No, I've never had polio. Well, I couldn't walk one year. He said, "You had polio." No, that isn't all I had. And I had appendicitis. It kept hitting, and I'd double up like that for a while and get over it. And it must hit 7 or 8 times, I guess. I had busted appendix and didn't know it. Never went to a doctor or anything, and I got over it.
Today we hear a lot about anxiety and depression. What's your take on that? What advice would you give to this younger generation?
Yeah, you see that all the time. I would never, it's hard for me to understand that. But kids want something without doing anything for it. If you want to learn something, you have to do it on your own pretty much, everything you do. And well, I believe people have to do things on their own to get ahead. I was always looking for money when I was growing up, and I peddled papers they come in at 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night, and I used to peddle them between then and 12 o'clock at night. So, and then I get up and milk cows early in the morning. So I always had some kind of a project going all the time. And there's so many people looking for something for nothing. That is something you just should never do, ever. You want to do it on your own and make it and I was successful because of that. Mm-hmm. You might say I'm a little bit bullheaded. Once I've started on doing things, I do them. I was never going to pay a dime interest on a credit card, which I have never done. And I've never bought any furniture on time payment, which I've never done, and I'll never do it. I just made up my mind that that's the way it's going to do, and it paid off. That's the biggest thing that people have is financial problems. They do have financial problems, but it's their own problem.
Can you tell me about a hard time in your life that you learned from?
After my wife died, I married a gal, and everything she did, she tried to hurt me on everything. And she had a lot of money, but she wouldn't pay anything. We went to Alaska on a trip, and I was giving her $1,000 a month just to spend. And then we got on that trip up there, and we stopped wherever we stopped to eat or anything. Well, she said she'd go up there, "I'm paying my own bill." I didn't know what to do on it, and I just let it go. And I wish I hadn't, because I should have told everybody that I had already given her the money on it. But I think about that all the time, of all the dumb things that I just let it go and so on. But that was it. She finally took off. You have stuff like that that you have to put up with, and you have to live with. But that was quite a thing in my life, a divorce, and under the circumstances, people just don't know what there was on that. You have to. I was so against divorce, but I'm not anymore. Let's put it that way. You have to work around it, and you don't do dumb things even with that, which I didn't.
How do you define happiness?
Yeah, that's an easy. Do things right, and make sure they're right when you do them, and you'll be happy on it. Even though it doesn't turn out right, it'll be right, and you feel good about it. Very good, which I do. I generally do things right. I lived with my aunt, and how she respected me all the time. My uncle, he had an awful temper. My uncle did, and he cussed things and everything, but he never, ever cussed me. Ever. Never. That's an unusual thing, for somebody that's cussing everybody, but he never, ever cussed me and so on, which I don't know why. I can't understand that.
Do you have a favorite decade?
Nope. Everyone brings different things. Even your old age. My old age, I floated into it. Always having a project, always doing something, always worrying about it, making sure I was going to have this to take care of and that to take care of and so on. Yep. And I do the best I can, and I feel good about it when I get through with it.
How did you dress back then?
You sit upstairs and look for your clothes and socks and everything else. But when I was growing up, my mother made clothes. They'd wash on Monday and iron on Tuesday, and everything had to be ironed. Everything had to be ironed. And you had wool pants. The clothing is so much better now that you just can't even believe the difference in clothing over what it used to be. Those old wool pants, and you try to keep a crease in them and iron them every other day to try to get and I press my own clothes a lot of the time too, so socks cost 10 cents a piece. There's 10 cents for two of them. Mm-hmm. After the war, they started to get a little more improved on everything, and it sure helped a lot. And then they went on into nylon and rayon and whatever else there is. Everything has improved. Everything has improved here since I was a kid. Everything.
For those of you who don't know, Faye Messenger is famous in Boise, Idaho for being an avid golfer at the age of 101 years old. That is nuts. It's amazing. Not only that, but he golfs multiple times a week. So, Faye, can you tell me more about your love for golf?
Golf gets you out. It takes at least 5-6 hours to go out and play 18 holes and then come back. And it's fun, and he gets you away from everything and with different friends and so on. I don't count my score. I used to, but I don't count anymore. I just play it and just to be out and so on, and it's a lot of fun. It's good for your body, and it's good for you. It's good to get out with other people and so on. So I like golf.
I love that. Thank you, Faye.
The best part about me doing this podcast is that I get to talk to people who grew up in a different time, and their take on anxiety and depression was completely different, and they definitely don't deal with the same things that we do now. And talking about happiness with people who have a completely different perspective than, say, I would. So I really like that. One thing I find across the board is that social media usually has something to do with it. Social media is a encourager of anxiety. I would say that. It's an encourager. So not everyone who's on social media will experience anxiety, but it's highly likely that it may encourage some anxiety. So one thing that I've been thinking about is I love social media. I think I've already expressed that. I work with it. I think it does so many cool things. It's fun to share your creative work. It's fun to share your work in general. It's fun to share your memories and events and anything that you're doing with your friends and family who don't necessarily get to see you on a regular basis. Let's just say there's a lot of benefits to social media. But that brings me into what I've been thinking about all week, which is feeling fulfilled versus feeling unsatisfied. But I've been thinking a lot about this because here we talk about social media and how it affects our mental health, or if it affects our mental health. And then I'm listening to these wonderful interviews about these people who lived without social media, talking about their experiences. And when I'm listening to their experiences, I'm super satisfied. I'm satisfied listening to their fun experiences, just their everyday experiences, like swimming naked in the river, or putting on fancy hats and going out to dinner with your friends, or letting pigs loose in the market. For some reason, these stories are satisfying to me. And that's something I've noticed. The other thing I've noticed is that when I'm on social media, which I love, don't get me wrong, I'm scrolling through and I hardly ever feel satisfied. In fact, I'm unsatisfied. I want more. I'm looking for something and I don't know what, but I'm looking for something, and I have this great feeling of unsatisfaction, which leads me to scroll even more and try and find that satisfaction that I'm clearly not finding. And so I think that right there is kind of addiction, because I'm not satisfied and I'm trying to get something until I am satisfied. The funny thing is that things that are satisfying are like me going to the movies with my friends, or me spending time making dinner with my family. And let me reiterate that when I'm satisfied, I'm happy. I really am. Like, being satisfied is, in a sense, being happy. And also, being satisfied is very different than having instant gratification, because feeling satisfied is more of a long-term feeling. Having instant gratification is a pretty short-term happiness that goes away really quickly. Being satisfied, you can sit there and just relish in the satisfaction for a long time, too. You can think about it and still feel satisfied. You think about that story or that event or that thing you did, and you still feel satisfied just by thinking about it. Instant gratification isn't like that. I think the reason we spend so much time on social media is that we're looking for that satisfaction and we're not finding it. And so we just keep looking because we are getting small tidbits of instant gratification, and that's about it. So we keep looking and looking instead of reaching out to actual things that's not going to give us total satisfaction. We need to stop and put it away and go cultivate our actual relationships right in front of us. That's satisfying. I think we try and find satisfaction in comparison. So we see something that we want to attain and then try and compare ourselves to that, wanting to attain that specific thing that we found that we think will give us satisfaction. Then if we don't attain that ideal or comparison, then we feel unsatisfied. I think the difference is knowing the feelings, paying attention to your feelings. If you're feeling unsatisfied, then you need to switch it up, because feeling unsatisfied is going to result in feeling unhappy. It just is. If you're looking for satisfaction while on social media, then put your phone down and go read your kid a book or go on a walk or go make dinner with your family. There's a lot more satisfying things out there. Go get a drink with friends. Cultivate your relationships. Sounded like I said chips. Anyways, moving on. We're not going to talk in a British accent anymore. Here's me mic dropping my phone at the end of this. Love you, phone. See you in the morning. I'm going to go spend some time with my little baby Zeke. Peace out. It's Steph with an F. See you next episode. Wait. You can't miss the embarrassing story of the week. No. Okay. It's that time. It's Steph with an F's embarrassing story of the week. Time for my embarrassing story of the week. We all know my life is embarrassing. So just today, actually. So I'm in the office. There's like 5 or 6 other coworkers with me. And we have the desks that move up and down so you can stand or you can sit. And I was sitting a little too close to the top of the desk. My chin was fairly close to the top of the desk because I've been having back problems and that seemed like the most comfortable position. So I've been having super powerful sneezes lately, and this one was a good one. And I hit my chin on the desk really loudly right after a sneeze and got a good laugh from the coworker, which also reminds me of the time I was sitting on the other side of the desk and my coworker had a collection of like Harry Potter mugs. He just had really interesting mugs. And so I always had to check out his new mugs. So he got a new mug and I was in my rolly chair and I decided I needed a better look at the new mug. And so I'm like extending myself off the chair as much as possible to get a good glimpse of his new mug. And I just fall flat onto the floor. I think I passed out for like a split second. The nice thing is that the security camera in the office is right above my desk. So we have some great footage of that. So yes, that's my embarrassing story for the week.
If you came here for mental health help, please go visit your doctor. If you're looking for some mental health tips, Dr. Daniel Amen is someone I follow. I love what he has to say and offer. I think his website is brainhealthassessment.com, and he just has some awesome checklist items that go over brain health. So like checklist items for habits that you should be doing to have better brain health. I want to say there's like 5 to 10 items. And if you have those, if you're working on those habits and trying to improve them to improve your brain health, you'll also improve your happiness level, because brain health equals mental health. So keep your brains happy and healthy, and check out Dr. Daniel Amen. This is not sponsored. I just really like what he has to say, and I think it's really beneficial. I think it can help a lot of people. It's actually very matter of fact, kind of obvious, but yeah, we neglect so many of these habits daily, and I do feel like, if you're feeling unhappy, that may be one of the reasons you're unhappy, because you're neglecting your brain health, which is also your mental health, and trying to improve these habits could really help. So check him out. If you have any stories from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, please get in contact with me. Let's chat. I want nothing more than to chat about the past. I want nothing more than to chat about the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you have any specific questions that I'm not asking that you would like to know about these eras while interviewing these people, please let me know. I would love some advice, and I would love your input. So, what would you guys like to know?